All right, it is 6 o'clock, and I ask that you stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure.
Dean Cruz.
Here.
Kalinowski.
Here.
Ball. Here. Walker.
Here.
Stady.
Here.
Brian Cruz.
Here.
Kaczynski.
Here. Okay, on the meeting agenda, or on the meeting agenda for tonight, we have under Department and Committee reports, item A, Operation Services Report, formerly Wade Drum. The monthly report is in your packet. Item B is the Zoning Administrator's Report, which is also in your packet. C, the Planning Commission meeting minutes are in your packet. Zoning Board of Appeals, item D is not met past month. Item E, Board of Review. F, the DDA Director's Report is in your packet. G, the Developed Filer Committee. Again, no report there. H, the Fire Department Report, and under the Fire Department Report, we have item A, consideration of approval for painting the exterior of the Fire Department building. Item I is the Personnel Committee, which did not meet this past month. J, Elections Commission also has not met. K, Building and Grounds Committee. And there we have item A, consideration of approval of a sound system for the Township meeting room in the amount of $2,559 from Instrumental Music and Sound. Item L is the PEG Commission report. Under new business, we have item A, consideration of approval of Resolution 2019, no number yet, allowing a qualified property owner to file a written request with the July or December Board of Review to claim a principal residence exemption. Item B is consideration of approval of the presented resolution to set an alternate date for the July and December 2019 Board of Review meetings. And item C is consideration of approval of the amount of $750 to Northern Pump and Well for annual inspection and service on our 3 wells. D is discussion of short-term rental ordinance. Item E is discussion of the city's City of Manistee marijuana ordinance. And we have an addendum to the agenda. Item F is consideration of approval for a backpack leaf blower. If there are no other additions to the meeting agenda for tonight, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I make a motion we approve the meeting agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Steggy, support by Dean Cruz to approve the meeting agenda for tonight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On the consent agenda for tonight, we have item A, minutes of the regular board meeting from April 9th. B is the financial report. C, approval of the Township General Fund expenditures, including the fire department. Those are checks numbered 36527 through 36614, with accounts payable totaling $84,152.60. And payroll totaling $13,234.66 for a grand total of $97,387.26. Item D is approval of the Water Department expenditure checks number 2589 through 2596, totaling $16,211.42. Item E is approval of the sewer operating expenditures checks number 101035 through 1036, totaling $18,893.63. What did I say?
You said 18.
Okay, let me correct that then. The total expenditures for the sewer operating is $19,893.63. Item F is approval of the appointment of Tom Stady to the Public Education Government Commission for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2021. Tom is the only applicant we have with 2 vacancies. And item G is approval of township officials to attend the MTA assessing workshop at a cost of $113 each plus accommodations. And if there are no additions to the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Konowski, support by Brian Cruz to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Gary?
Yes.
I was going to ask a question after you got the second on that last motion, but you went right to the vote and I didn't get a chance. The
Sorry.
sewer operating expenditures, what, is that part of, is that the reserve?
The biggest part of that was our payment for the last quarter to the city, which was $19,000. I forget the exact amount.
Oh,
For the quarter,
okay, so that's more of a commodity charge than operating.
Well, it's also operating, because we get an ongoing consumer's bill every month.
For the electric.
and that would be the balance of that beyond that.
I was going to say, well, you know, it's a brand new system, we're spending $20,000 a month to fix it?
To operate,
Operate, okay. All right.
we get charged a percentage flow.
No, I understand, so, okay, I would consider that the commodity charge more than an operating, but that's just nomenclature, so you've explained it, so, okay. I was just thinking that we had broken pieces and
No,
something like
let's
that.
not go there.
There you
No. Hopefully not for some time to come.
go. Exactly.
Okay, just real quick, under communications announcements, you have in your packet item A, a channel update for Charter Communications. And then you have in your packet an invitation to the Filer Market Retail Study presentation that will be done by Bob Gibbs at the Days Inn on June 3rd at 6:30 p.m. And I would hope that all of us will be in attendance at that. There are going to be, already have been a lot of people invited to that. Item C, you've got the minutes from the last Smart Trails meeting in your packet. And then D, there's an announcement there about the Green Creek Garlic Mustard Work Bee, which will be taking place on May 18th, I believe it is, Saturday. The 18th of May. All volunteers are welcome. It's usually a pretty good group of workers, and it's just 2 hours from the morning, 9 to 11 on the 18th. At this point, I would like to ask Mark Sullivan to give us a report. I'm not sure, I know I've spoken to some of you about this, but I believe that was Monday of last week or the week before.
You mean as far as field
When,
work?
yeah,
Last Tuesday?
Was that Tuesday, okay,
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah, last Tuesday, Mark called and I went out and met him at Fox Farm in Red Apple to review the repairs that need to be done on Fox Farm west of Red Apple, and more extensive than what we had requested to be done. So I rode with Mark as he was doing his study and he was pointing things out. So at any rate, what he is proposing, and he can explain to you much better than I can, and the whys and wherefores, is more extensive than what we had talked about. So I'm going to let Mark explain that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Basically, last November, actually like last October, we went out and did a field review of it, basically preliminary field review to give you like in fact, in November, we said like an approximate construction cost estimate based on what we saw last October. And so with that construction cost estimate, see, we were looking at just like from Red Apple to about 0.3 of a mile to the west. You know, so that was about the worst condition, is to basically do a full width blacktop overlay on that. Then the rest of it at that time, we had felt you can do what they call intermittent blacktop patching, and then a chip seal with a fog seal over that, you know, basically from that point all the way to the end of the road.
Mark, excuse me, can I
Yes.
interrupt you just a second? I'm sorry.
Yes.
You had told me this afternoon when you talked that you were going to drop off a copy of that to the board members? Everybody
Yes,
got it?
yes, everybody has a copy
Okay.
of what I emailed to you
Yeah.
this morning. And so basically,
Everybody's got it.
last Tuesday, I went out and did a detailed field review on it. You know, what we had felt before, I know you, in like March, you decided you wanted to proceed with the job, and at that time, basically, we didn't do a real detailed field review on it. You know, it was based on what we looked at last October, what we saw in pavement condition. So last Tuesday, I was basically out on the project site for like 5.5 hours, and after being out there for a few hours, I called Terry and I said, you know, this blacktop overlay, the condition of the blacktop, I think deteriorated so much through the winter. A lot of it, like when you're going west and then you get into the curve area and then where that creek crossing is, pretty much all of it, you know, to that point and beyond until you get to where the road starts straightening out, you know, it's deteriorated so much that, you know, that's why I called Terry that, I mean, we really need to look at overlaying that section. And then the last part of the roadway, we're looking at doing basically a blacktop wedging and a chip seal with a fog seal. So based on doing a detailed field review last Tuesday, I did, you know, detailed quantity calculations based on a revised, you know, scope of work. In fact, part of that packet, there should be, at least I think everybody has it, there's pretty much a map that I have, you know, colored, and I have some information on it. And do you want a copy of this too, Richard? I do.
No, I'm watching
Okay.
it, I'm still.
But anyway, so pretty much from Red Apple Road to a little over 0.8 of a mile to the west and southwest direction, in other words, beyond where that cross culvert is for that creek crossing. When you come out through that last curve before you start going straight, we're gonna carry, you know, a blacktop overlay to that point. And then from that point to the very end of the road, we'll do intermittent, what they call like quarter crown wedging, like where you have distorted areas along the, you know, like in the wheel lines. And then some areas I'm calling for some center line wedging where you can see the deterioration in the middle. So the contractor will actually, they'll come in variable depth on blacktop on those, what they call along the edges for roughly 5 or 6 feet wide. Then the areas we'll be calling, actually I painted everything out last Tuesday with orange paint. And then there's areas where they'll actually come in down the center line of the roadway and put a blacktop wedge in. And then from that location, like where the creek crossing is, and then from that point, that was done, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I'm sure you can probably tell me. I mean, there was about 300 feet of blacktop at the creek crossing that's newer than the rest of it, and that's, you know, because of the culvert crossing. So from where the, basically that blacktop is, that's in a little better condition, from that point all the way to the end of the road, we will have the contractor chip seal and fog seal it, okay? You know, where we've wedged the existing pavement and stuff like that. Now from that first 0.8 of a mile, that'll just be, we won't chip seal that. It'll just be a full width blacktop overlay, a minimum of 1.5 inches. There'll be some, you know, additional thickness in areas because of the condition of the pavement, but that won't be chip sealed. So you'll have 0.8 of a mile that's going to be basically just when it's done, it's gonna be, blacktop surface. And then the rest of it, which is going to be roughly about 3,500 feet, will be chip seal, with a fog seal on that. So what I did, based on, like I said, we did some estimates, just approximate estimates last fall, and then, through the winter, there was a lot more deterioration than, we had expected. So originally I was hoping like in March that, the preliminary quantities we set up would be enough to do the project, but looking at the condition, there was no way that we could, just do 1,600 feet of overlay and try to, patch, the rest of it that really needs to be overlaid. So, and with the updated construction cost estimate, on my email, basically, I've shown like the breakdown on the prior agreement that you actually signed in March, and then we approved it at our board meeting. We had it broken down, the estimate of being $47,250 for the township, and then also the same amount for the road commission. So based on this revised scope of work, which is going to include, more blacktop overlay, we had estimated $67,930 for the township, and then also for the road commission. So in essence, with that change in the scope of work, for the treatment on the roadway, it's an increase of $20,860 estimated amount for, each entity. And I know when I was out there doing the field work, there was one of the property owners that brought it to my attention that they have a contractor, Land Tech, I believe, from Holland, that is doing some shoreline protection work for them, and they're going to be hauling some material in sometime this month, supposedly. And I saw a sign when I was out there, a permit from the county, where it looks like Swiderski's doing some work too. And then I know when I talked to Terry this morning, apparently somebody from the Lakeland Association indicated there's some other property owners doing shoreline work. I did talk to one of the property owners that lives not on the Lake Michigan side, but on the other side when I was doing my field work, and he kind of indicated that apparently, it's kind of an ongoing thing because, the Lake Michigan water levels. And looking at the condition of the pavement, you're kind of in a dilemma. Well, you want to try to wait until, some of that, lakeside or lakeshore work is done, but if it's an ongoing process, who knows? I'm sure it's an expensive operation for the property owners. And like I indicated in my email, I basically recommend, proceeding with this project. Otherwise I think especially, the condition of the pavement right now, I think if you let it go too long, it's going to be to a point where you have to pretty much overlay everything or grind up and repave everything. So it's kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't, but I believe it would be much safer trying to preserve it, and then, at least the names of the contractors that we're aware of and the locations, make sure the contractors, they can still, this time of the year, haul in legal loads in Michigan. We don't want somebody coming in there with, overloaded. If need be, we would have to, have our weighmaster go out and put them on a scale. But, I think if we find out all the contractors that are working on it, and wherever they plan on going off of, West Fox Farm, as far as like an entrance to get to the lake, make sure they do something, right at that entrance so they don't, tear up the blacktop. Or if they do, they're going to have to basically fix it, pay to get it fixed. And I know Land Tech originally was, because they did call me the same day I was out doing field work, and apparently they were supposed to be hauling the material in to one of those, a gas or oil well sites, and then apparently using different equipment to haul it in from there. But then when I talked to the guy by phone, he was thinking that maybe they will just haul right to the site, so that's something that would have to be, clarified. Because obviously if they're hauling in with big, gravel train type of trucks and, backing in, towards Lake Michigan side, they're gonna have to make some provisions to make sure they have a good, stable, stable entrance. The guy I talked to, they were gonna make sure to do that, but, any of the contractors, whether it's Swiderski or Land Tech or whoever else might be doing the work, but, I would, despite that, it sounds like it's an ongoing thing, and, probably for the lakefront property owners, they probably, I'm assuming it's fairly expensive. I know I think the one person I talked to, I think they have just like 100 feet, 150 feet of frontage, and apparently they're hauling in like 700 to 1,000 tons of, large rocks that are apparently, maybe a ton a piece, 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, per rock. So that's some pretty big rocks to be, putting in for revetment along Lake Michigan. So,
Mark, what is the width of that you're proposing for this project? The width of the road?
oh, the roadway, we are matching existing width. It's actually, I measured it at quite a few locations. It's, majority of it's 20 feet wide.
So there will be no walking path or bike path?
No.
No bike path?
No.
Okay.
No,
The other thing is, how often does the board approve something and then you come back with an almost 50% increase?
well, usually on this, back last fall, in fact, the letter that I gave you in November, it was like an approximate construction cost increase, and I know, or approximate construction cost. All we did at that point of time, we did a preliminary field review. We didn't do an extensive field review like what I just did last Tuesday. And like I said, the pavement condition at that time, we felt it was better. Actually there was two of us that was taking a look at it. And so I wasn't certain. I know Filer Township, I don't think has done a project, my understanding, in, quite some time. So we're at that point, well, do we spend a bunch of, extensive work last fall, as far as extensive field work and quantity calculations and that, or wait, like they even had it in my letter, I think in November, that if you do decide to proceed with it, that we would be doing, more extensive, field work, and that's pretty much what I did. I was hoping initially that, without going out and doing extensive field work, that our estimate quantities would be adequate for what we needed, but like I said, when I looked at it, it was, there was way too much work involved, and I can pretty much guarantee that pavement, beyond the 1,600 feet deteriorated substantially, through the winter. So,
Because originally we were only going to go to the top of the hill. And now we're going all the way to the end. Now we're going all the way to the turnaround.
Well, but chip seal from the dip.
yeah, you're, like, when you go past the creek crossing, it's gonna be an overlay, blacktop overlay to just beyond that, when the road straightens out, and then from that point, it's gonna be the intermittent blacktop wedging.
All the way to the turnaround.
All, right to the,
1.4 mile.
the total, yes, yeah, 1 point, almost, 1 point, yeah, almost a mile and a half.
0.6 of a mile to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And you're going 0.8 to the culvert.
Well, it would be actually where we do, the very end of where we do the overlay is going to be to the, beyond the culvert. In fact, I had brought some
I would say we
photographs.
extended it further than what we originally intended to do.
Yeah, these are
Well,
some photographs.
I think one thing that Mark talked about out there too is doing a lesser amount now and the life expectancy we get out of it versus, if we do a little more extensive, we're gonna get a longer lifespan out of it. One thing. The other thing, I know when you and Tom and I drove that, we pretty much looked at it from the vehicle, and as I drove it with Mark, and he started pointing things out, and can you see that? And I said, yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of what you call alligator.
Right, yeah, well, actually I literally walked the entire thing twice from, from where the creek crossing is, from that point all the way to the end of the road, and that's where you'll see the orange paint marks. I literally walked up and down both lanes, and I marked out where we should wedge, the quarter crown, the center line, stuff of that nature, And that, to be honest with you, the portion I even marked, it's probably rated being like a Pazer 2, maybe a 3 in areas. A Pazer 3 means it's poor condition. Pazer 2 means it's very poor condition, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10 on Pazer. So in that area there, you know, but I think from that point, like where we're doing the overlay, all the way up to Red Apple, that's like a Pazer 1 to 2, okay? Some areas might be a 2, a lot of the areas are basically 1 where you see a lot of deterioration.
This deterioration, I was in there in February, at the end, turned around, and there was a big flatbed 18-wheeler sitting there.
Sure.
And he waved me down, wanted to know how to get the
Oh.
this way out. I said, that's the least of your problem, how are you gonna turn this thing around?
Right.
Because at the end, I can't even turn my truck around
Right.
without doing a double. Yeah.
Right, right.
He wasn't worried about that, so I can see where that road is getting tore up with
Yeah.
those big trucks going.
Yeah, the very end of the road, where it turns into the association then,
Yeah.
we're going to overlay, I've got like 263 feet at the very end. We'll do a, you know, blacktop overlay on that, but then all of that will be chip sealed back to where the creek crossing is. You know, so in other words, where you got the newer pavement where the creek crossing is, I should say that pavement's better condition than the rest of it. We will chip seal over that, you know, that part of it and some of the new, you know, blacktop overlay too. But the bulk of the blacktop overlay from the creek crossing all the way to Red Apple won't be, you know, won't be chip sealed, so.
Did the gentleman call you today, that Dan Ogama?
No,
Okay.
no, I asked the girls up front too, and I was in the office, you know, until, you know, 4:30, and then I had to look at something stronger, so.
This gentleman, he's on the board of the professional club, he called me before Mark and I spoke, because he had some concerns about the work they're going to be doing with the shoreline protection and the loads that would come in there, and I told him to get in touch with Mark because I'm very concerned that we get this work done and then it gets torn up by these heavy loads coming in there, and he told me that they are planning on bringing the rock in on flatbeds and downloading on that road into the pipeline there, or along the pipeline. But then they're also going to be capping those wells, and that's going to involve some heavy equipment coming in too. That was supposed to have been done by March, but he said it hasn't been done yet, so he's anticipating that that's going to be done soon. Whether that was due to the frost restriction on the roads, being able to bring the equipment in, I don't know. But,
When does this project be figured to begin?
The, you know, the contractor right now, Elmer's, is actually doing the paving work, okay, and they started in the northeast part of the county. They've got 45 miles total, you know, on a locally funded work, so it's probably going to be likely sometime in May. You know, so we would have to, you know, like I said, coordinate with the shoreline contractors. We had a pre-construction meeting back two or 3 weeks ago. Pavement Maintenance Systems is a prime contractor. They do the chip sealing and the fog sealing work out of Inlay City. But Elmer's is doing all of the blacktop, you know, paving work and, you know, wedging work, stuff like that. So they started in the northeast. They're doing some roads up in Cleon, Marilla Road, I think Chief Road, some of those other roads, and are kind of progressing south. And I know eventually they're going to be over on Norman Township doing that Snyder Road project. That's going to be part of the Cooley Bridge detour after it's, you know, repaved. And so I'm guessing it's going to be, you know, sometime in May. You know, but like I said,
This month.
This one?
this month, yes. That's what I'm guessing here. The intention, they're going to try to get all the blacktop work done in May, and then pavement maintenance systems would be in sometime in June, and that's all obviously subject to weather. So,
Is there any way that we can add some additional restrictions on weight for these things coming in and out?
Well, there's a couple options struck me. Clearly, the number, you know, the size of this project has grown from what you used to, or what you anticipated. You have a couple of options. I think the county road commission probably has the only jurisdiction to set weight limits on that road, but you could ask the property owners along there to contribute to this project through a special assessment. I mean, you don't have to specially assess the whole thing, but if there's a thought that there's going to be some damage, and Mark, I can tell you from experience, I've had those big rocks brought in to my house 30 years ago, and you know, they're very heavy and they do a lot of damage. Fortunately, we didn't have a paved driveway at the time, it was just gravel, but you know, you have a couple of those big tractor trailers spinning on some tires, you're going to dig up some asphalt. But I mean, you can specially assess part of this if you think there's, you know, some extra cost here that we're going to have to cover because of the work that the property owners are doing. You don't have to, but that's one source of funding. But otherwise, I think it's up to Mark, probably to set the weight limits.
I mean, generally on the county roads, I mean, it's based on what's allowable in Michigan.
Right.
You know, unless it's, you know, springtime where we
Yeah, you
restrict
got
the
the
roads.
crosswalks on it, but,
Right,
yeah.
right, and this is, you know,
What's
summertime.
the typical weight limit on a county local road?
I'm
I have no
trying to
idea.
So I don't know if
What's
it's
it up?
80,000 pounds or whatever it is.
So is there someone who could police that though and watch throughout the time they're all in their stuff and
This is an
make somebody
ongoing,
accountable?
I mean, this is an ongoing thing. I mean, we can try to figure out, you know, who's doing what as far as, you know, project goes and, you know, talk to the contractors. But as far as having somebody that can, like, police it on a full-time basis,
Well, we're talking a lot of money, you know, to
you
throw
know,
away, we're not into that business. You know, you don't wanna blame Swarovski if it's the other guy doing it, but
well,
someone's got to be
you
held
really
accountable.
open up a can of worms, like you talk about special assessment, if you only have a select number of people that are doing the shoreline work,
Right.
Yeah.
and they're gonna have a big issue.
There'll
with
be all
special
kinds of
assessment.
objections,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure. Right.
Right,
And we don't, like Mark said, it's an ongoing project, talking with this gentleman from the professional club, I think it was Lam Tech, one of the companies that they're working with, contacted, I think he said 18 of the property owners along there to see if they have an interest in doing their shoreline as well. And like Mark said, this could be, there's definitely gonna be work done this spring, summer, whatever on it, but there could be, you know, continued work going on over the next several years, you know, as people maybe see the effects of the erosion and the benefits of the boulders and want to protect their property and can afford to protect their property, you know.
We may want to communicate with the shoreline owners then and say, listen, this is what we're doing. Please, you know, let your contractors know that
Yeah.
if you damage our new road, we're going to be looking for some compensation, so.
Well, I could work with you on that,
Okay, I mean,
of some sort.
Certainly some sort of, I don't want to call it a shot across the bow, but at least some sort of notice
Yeah.
that.
And they,
that
you
this-
know, I've already expressed that to the gentleman that called me today, that's
Right.
on the board of the association, and told him, you know, that we're very, very concerned, we don't want this.
But if we have a letter that we've got, you know,
Yeah.
we have evidence that we have
Right.
sent to every shoreline property owner,
Right.
you know, it'll be easier to show somebody the phone conference.
Yeah, yeah. Easier to follow up for a special assessment for repair work.
Right, exactly.
It's needed.
Yeah, you need to, yeah, exactly.
done, I'll make a motion to accept that bid.
I'll support it. $20,000 more. than-
Yeah, what we'll basically do, we'll, you know, basically void the original agreement, and then this will be like, we'll have board action, you know, on Friday to approve, you know, pretty much the revised agreement. And right at the top of the agreement, I did put a note on that, on the actual agreement where it says that this agreement replaces the agreement approved by the township on March 22nd and by the road commission on April 10th. That's right on the top of that, you know, the revised agreement.
And you've got our advance amount on there, and
Yes.
did we
yeah.
already, I thought we had done an advance on the previous amount. We hadn't sent that yet.
We signed it all.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe get all up to check, it'll
Yeah.
just be the
I
difference.
saw
that's all.
that check-in was sitting. So we'll want to adjust that.
Yeah,
if
you'll have to let me know, so
Okay,
what the real advance is gonna be.
yeah.
And so, are you done then, Mark?
I'll just give you a couple quick updates if you don't mind. We met with, I mean, just real quick. We met with MDOT this morning, and I talked to them last Thursday also. The M55 over the Big Manistee River, the bridge replacement project, they are looking at doing that starting in early 2021, you know, starting with demolition work. And so they're going to do the entire project in 2021. Now, as a part of that, MDOT is working with us on the resurfacing of all of Stronach Road from US 31 to M55. That's what they're, you know, working on right now. They're basically putting together an agreement, a draft agreement for us to look at. It's going to be similar to what we did down in Norman Township for the M55 Cooley Bridge project. And they gave us a preliminary number of $2 million they're going to give us towards doing the resurfacing project, including design engineering and construction engineering work for the project.
From where?
From US 31, all of Stronach Road, from that point all the way to M55. Would be, yeah, Stronach Road going through, you know, the
Yeah.
village.
You
of
said
Stronach.
US 31 one to M55.
Right, yeah, it will go the full, I
US
think it's like,
31 to Old Stronach.
no, it'll go all the way to 55.
55.
Brian's Auto. 55, that's Old Stronach. Which way you go?
Where's your map?
All over, little bit.
Yeah, that's Old Stronach Road.
Yeah, well, when you get to the village, it turns into Water Street.
Yeah,
And then when you turn, you know, basically there in the village, it's basically 4th Street, and then that turns into Stronach Road.
right.
And that will run all the way up to M55. So they're gonna basically work with us on resurfacing all of that. And when we met with them within the last few years, I told them that the road commission would take care of the guardrail upgrading. In other words, if they paid for the resurfacing work in that, you know, we would take care of, you know, guardrail upgrading as needed. You know, usually when you resurface, depending on the height of the existing guardrail, you might have to adjust the height of, you know, that rail, and then there might be some endings that have to be replaced or extended, stuff of that nature. So, we are working with MDOT. We plan on coming up with an estimate on our own with our consultant to make sure, you know, we don't have a $2.5 to $3 million project. But, you know, just so you know, the latest and greatest with MDOT, they plan on, you know, starting, you know, in early 2021. I know originally they were going to start in late 2020, you know, with the demolition work through the winter. But, you know, that's the latest that they just told me, you know, this morning and last week. Over by the existing bridge by Meyer, starting the week of the 20th, they have a firm that's going to be doing the geotechnical work, in other words, soil borings, and they'll actually drill right through the, you know, the bridge deck, you know, for the foundations on the new bridge. and they will have temporary traffic signals. That week, they'll be doing work, and then apparently, starting the Tuesday after Memorial Day, they will be back doing, soils work, for the bridge design. So just so you're aware of it. And I think they're gonna have some type of media release also making people aware of it, so. Because I think in 2023, from what I understand, they plan on doing work on the Bastille Bridge on 31. So they will be using Stronach Road as the detour again, at that point in time, so. But that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Brian Cruz, support by Dean Cruz, to,
I just, but Brian wants to make an amendment.
I just wanted to,
Tom made the motion?
I make a
Brian made a motion, I seconded it.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted a little clarification on the motion to, the motion as the money that's asked for, but, and then follow up with a letter or something to the
Sure.
shoreline people. If there is any damage done, we kind of need some,
Okay. You have that, sure.
Also
Something like
send
that.
a letter to the shoreline people that Richard,
yes.
that the attorney will draft the language.
Because you gotta be aware of the damage that's being done.
Well, the potential damage that could be done to the, I mean, at this point, I presume we don't care if they dig up the old road.
But the new road,
But the new road, we do care about.
We don't know, we might have 50% out of it
Yeah, well,
yet.
that's true, yeah.
And you probably saw it, back actually in April, I sent a call for 2020 projects already.
yeah.
So that's something we definitely want to get, because we actually took bids on the countywide local wedge and chip seal work back February 4th, okay? So your project plus a few other townships were adding projects on, so we're kind of scrambling last minute to try to get things added. So I mean, that's why this year I made sure to turn something in early, so hopefully before the snow flies this year, we can do, more detailed field reviews and estimates, stuff of that nature, so, and we're more than willing to work with you. I mean, obviously, we've given you a lot of information on the road conditions. We can gladly come and, drive the roads with you, you name it, so, if you want to do something next year too, so.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So we have the motion by Brian Cruz, support by Kaczynski, to accept the road commission's proposal for the work on Fox Farm Road west of Red Apple with the increased cost, $20,850 increase in our cost. And follow up also with a letter to the property owners regarding the project, informing them of the project and potential for special assessment if repairs need to be made. Any other discussion? Shirley, call the roll, please.
Brian Cruz,
Yes.
Paul, yes, Walker,
Yes.
Stady,
Yes.
Chesky,
Yes.
Kalinowski,
Yes.
E. Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Can
Sure.
we get the minutes and sign this for
You want me to wait for that, or?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and
Okay,
pass that
great.
around. Well,
Hey, Mark, why are they looking at doing 12th Street, or Maple and 12th Street up to
We applied for the small urban funding in 2023. See, it's only on odd years where we get 375,000. The city's doing 12th Street this year from Maple back to 31. And then transit gets hopefully the funds in 2021. And then, I mean, we applied for 2021 also, the same project. But, 2023 is, most likely, Yeah.
Somebody had asked me, but I don't remember.
Yeah, and that, we, on our funding application, we actually, that whole section, like from 15th to 12th Street, we're gonna basically have the curb and gutter torn out, you know, redo the, you know, the entire blacktop, stuff of that nature in that area, you know, the base and the blacktop. And then the rest of it's gonna be resurfaced, and then also the same project, we're doing Murphy. We're gonna overlay Murphy from Maple back to 31, so.
How about Murphy to, when do we plan to do Murphy to Cherry?
It's gonna be next year. We have a consultant doing the design work on it this year.
Good.
Then we're gonna get bids on that, so. Like, early next year, probably by January, February, we'll get bids. And we have a few other projects too, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I'll check on the, you know, the deposit. It would just be, if you already paid, it would just be the difference, so. Thank you.
And I think we should-
Yeah, I think we did. Okay, under department committee reports, so I'm sorry, public comment? Public comment? None? Okay, under department and committee reports, item A, you have the monthly bank report in your packet from Operation Services.
Harry,
Yes.
is the 6.642 supposed to match the 8.642? I'm just wondering why we dropped 2 million gallons of water pumped in March of 2019. When it says up here, there should be 8.642 million gallons
Oh,
of
total water
pumped.
pumped.
But if you look down in the column, I think those two numbers are supposed to be the same.
That's probably a typo. Which is a typo.
Where are you
For the
looking?
month, and then.
Well, when you look at the top,
March,
Here.
it's
On
showing,
the top up
yeah,
here, Drew,
it's showing.
it says 8.642 million gallons pumped in March.
isn't it down
Yeah.
here?
But then if you look over here, it's only 6.642 gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can call.
Yeah, and that also hits the bottom line there too. That should be more like 25, 23,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my concern when I saw the 6.642, I compared to the 2017 and 2018 figures and said, wow, we've got.
Yeah, 2 million gallons of water. What happened?
Yeah, so, and I, yeah, I'll give Patrick a call tomorrow on that, and get clarification.
It's gotta be a typo.
That's all it is.
I would think so, yeah.
The rest of it's
Right.
Let's 6.2, let's hope the typo was on the March line and not up the top.
Right.
And the performance indicator. Okay. Next, you have your report from Larry on the zoning activity. Planning Commission minutes from the April 16th meeting, as well as item E, your, no, I'm sorry, E, there was no board review. Item F, your minutes and director's report from April is in your packet. And the develop fire committee has not met, but I want to pose a question, Richard, to you right now. We had some discussion on this at our DDA meeting in terms of going with the 20 to 25 signatures to
Oh, sure.
be able to do away with that one requirement.
The Citizens Advisory Council.
Advisory Council requirement.
Mhm.
And then for a development plan, we have to have a public hearing on that. The question is, can we schedule a public hearing before we collect those 20 to 25 signatures, or do we have to wait till
They
after?
gotta wait till afterwards, yeah. You gotta make sure that we don't need it one first,
Okay.
so.
So 20% of
Yeah,
that,
so-
Tamara told me she thinks there's 124.
Does that include kids?
No, adults,
Okay, adults, so that's what,
25.
25? Okay,
So we get a little bit more,
right.
Okay,
maybe go for 30.
yeah.
Well, if you get 25, surely that'll be fine. Again, this is one of those things where, you know, if you don't have one, who's going to object? But the problem is that if the DDA ever decides to do some bonding in the future for some project that they want to do or something like that, and the development plan isn't squeaky clean in terms of its adoption and so on, you know, you might run into some issue with a bond lawyer later on saying, well, you know, the development plan was not properly amended because you didn't have the Citizens Advisory Council as required by statute, and therefore I'm not going to give you the opinion that you need to issue the bond. I mean, that's, otherwise, you know, I'd say forget it. You know, like I said, who's going to complain? But the DDA's got some good ideas, and they may want to issue bonds someday, so we might as well do it correctly if we can.
So how do we proceed with this? What's the next step?
Well, I think you, I would probably call up Horizon Point and say, can we come over and talk to some people? Or
Tamara's already gonna do that.
is she, okay, and do the same thing with
Pine Ridge.
Pine Ridge, and you probably get them in a half, you know, an afternoon.
She's gonna hit both locations, and then all of our DDA board members,
Yeah.
got copies of the.
Right. You're in, aren't you, Tom? I mean, you can sign it and.
Okay, parcel numbers,
I would, yeah, that's part of the form, you don't need, we can fill that in later.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
the property owner probably doesn't know his parcel number.
Okay, I told her to be prepared
Yeah,
to whoever she's going to see, and when she gets the name, she can tell them what the property number is.
she could, we have the list of all the properties in the.
Or she could just put in there a sign.
Does Bankers have the same property number, or what's that one parcel, or do they have separate parcels?
No, they're all separate parcels.
Then how about Horizon Point?
Horizon Point is one parcel number.
Okay.
So
Well,
She
we're
could
not
collect
going
the
by-
signatures and
yeah.
come back, and we could fill in the
Right,
parcel.
yeah.
The parcel numbers is part of the form. It's not required by the statute. All we need is the signature.
They don't have a packet.
Okay.
So when we
We
get the
told her we are
signatures,
the numbers.
Yeah.
what do we do next?
Once we get those signatures, I will prepare an ordinance for the township to adopt. As I recall, the statute requires that we then adopt an ordinance that says we're going to proceed without the Citizens Advisory Council because we've gotten this petition. And you have to adopt an ordinance that says that. And then that sort of gets the ball rolling with the DEA to get the development project, the development amendments back on. It'll be a very short ordinance, you know. We don't want one effective immediately. Do we have any children in the DEA?
I don't think so.
Well, there wouldn't be any in Horizon Point,
No.
but,
Maybe
there,
have renting.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all retired, but there could be.
Yeah.
but that means, I told Tamara that this means 18
Yeah.
or older. That's what she.
Okay, Personnel Committee did not meet one of the Elections Commission, so let's go to item K, Building and Grounds Committee.
Fire department.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Yes, I did. Skip it. So we'll jump back up to H, Fire Department. We have an item there for consideration, and Jim, if you want to give your report first, and then
I can do that.
we'll talk about that, maybe.
Well, you have the report in front of you with the numbers. The electrical work has been all completed at the fire station. McDougal's did an excellent job in getting everything taken care of. So we're all set there. The new helmets that we purchased last month arrived, and we put those into service. We also took a tour of PCA for our annual walkthrough for PCA, so that gets our folks familiar with the location of certain machineries and stuff like that at PCA. The airlines to supply the trucks with air, that project's been completed. Logan and Jerry O'Brien completed that project last week. And the burn permits, again, with the summer coming down, burn permits are closed. They've been closed for the last few days, and I would anticipate they're going to stay closed for a while, unless we get some heavy-duty rain in the next few days. But so I think the burning permits are going to be closed. And Frontline Services is here right now. They've been here yesterday, today, and possibly tomorrow, doing our annual truck inspections to get that all taken care of. So that will be all done for the year also. We've been asked to participate in a Touch a Truck Day up at Catholic Central on Thursday, the May 16th. So we'll be taking a couple of our trucks up there. The kids, it's like a big truck day up at Catholic Central from 5 to 7. So if you have any grandkids or something, bring them up. And they're getting all kinds of large equipment up there to let the kids climb on it and look at it and touch it and do it. And that one. So we're going to be participating in that also. So the other thing is we have an applicant now that would like approval to go ahead and move forward to put him on the roster. His name is Roger Meyer. He's a fully trained firefighter 1 and 2. And again, I'd just like approval to go ahead and move forward. And the approval will be dependent on his background check and his physical and his pre-checks before the employment takes effect. So that would raise our roster up to 19. So.
How are you spelling Meyer?
M-E-I-R.
M-E-I-R?
Yeah.
Make the motion, I accept.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Dean Cruz, by Dean, and support by Koloneski to approve adding to the roster, you get the first name? Roger Meyer. Any discussion?
And again, that would be pending on his background check and his physical.
Is he an EMT? Is he an EMT?
No, but he's fire trained.
Where did he go before? Where is he from?
He was originally on the Boone Fire Department over by Cadillac up there. So,
Which officer positions are open?
Captain, when Dale Roberts retired, and the training officer. So those are the 2 positions that we're looking for. So we're looking at trying to start some people around here to possibly eliminate one lieutenant's position and just go with captain. So we're not sure how that's going to work. So we're doing the job description right now just to check and see if it's possible to do that. Any questions for me?
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have, for consideration of approval, a bid on the painting of the exterior of the fire department building, and I know we looked at that last month, but we didn't have a cost on materials, and that's included this time at $489.43. And that's for the complete painting of the exterior of the fire department by the Schrader Brothers.
same.
It's the same bid that was
Just added the
in our packet
materials.
last month, right? Just have the addition of the materials cost to it.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid and material costs for painting of the Fire Township Fire Station.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian Cruz, support by Dean Cruz to approve the bid by the Schrader Brothers for the painting of the Fire Township Fire Station at a cost of $6,250, plus materials cost of $489.43.
I'm assuming we're buying materials directly.
Yes. Any discussion? Okay, sure, go ahead.
Ball, yes. Stuckey,
Yes.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Jacinski,
Yeah.
Walker,
Yes.
Brian Cruz,
Yes.
Dean Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, let's drop back down now to building and grounds. And item A, you have in your packet a bid for sound system for the township meeting room in the amount of $2,559 from Instrumental Music and Sound. And I would add that we had talked initially to Scott Nikolajczyk about a bid, and he was going to submit a bid, but then he just got busy, and of course with what's going on with his dad, and he said he just didn't have time to even think about it. Also contacted Grand Traverse Mobile Communications in Traverse City for a bid, and we're not able to get a bid from them either, so this was the only bid that,
Is this for this room?
pardon me?
Is this a sound system for this room?
For this room, right.
So we will all have microphones, is that?
No, if you look that over, I think there was, somewhere,
Each system box.
I'm not seeing that, but I was told that it would be like, microphones between two board members and main speakers, so that it would be, audience could hear better, could be picked up better by Barry's camera and recording system. I don't know if any of you have looked at one of the board meetings on public TV. I've had a lot of people, different times over the last several years, complaining about the fact that they can't hear anything. I went on a couple of times. I haven't gone on since Barry started taping, but I went on a couple of times, and you could hear some of the discussion, but you couldn't hear a lot of the discussion either. So I know at one time we did have microphones set up in front of us here that connected directly to the camera, but it didn't help the audience at all. So,
Where are they at? Where are they at?
this company, I think, is out of Wellington.
Wellington, yeah.
Okay. Make a motion that we go to the cost of
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian Cruz, support by Stiggy to approve the bid in the amount of $2,559
If I could ask a question,
Any further discussion, questions? Go ahead.
since I can take a sound input, it would be very convenient if there was some way in the system that I could basically plug an output into the camera. So I don't know if that's planned or not. That would be a nice feature.
What's that?
Well, there's an 8-channel mixer included in this. I would think there'd be an output that,
Depending on where it's set up, if the mixing board like were behind you,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be,
right, that's a long quarter, but.
right. So,
Well, and in Dave North's email to Bob, I think he talked about a wall mount rack in the back that would house the equipment and that, I would think from there,
then that would be perfect, yeah.
probably could run. Any other discussion? Okay, Shirley, you want to call the roll, please?
Staky?
Yes.
Ball? Yes. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Dean Cruz?
Yes.
Jacinski?
Yes.
Brian Cruz?
Yes.
This doesn't come with this base for the spinning ball.
That's next.
Graduation day.
Okay, item L is the PEG report. Let's see, you're not on the commission yet, so you can't give a report yet. Barry, do you have
I did
anything?
not have a written report this month. We only have currently, until your action tonight, only 3 members on a current 7-member, so we don't even have a quorum. So now that Tom has been appointed, we again have a quorum, but we're also waiting for the city ordinance committee to go through the process of reducing it to 5 members, so we'll be much more functional.
Thank you. Okay, under new business tonight, item A, we have consideration of approval of the resolution allowing a qualified property owner to file a written request with the July or December Board of Review to claim a principal residence exemption. And I guess, well, surely I'll just let you explain what Molly explained to you today, basically
Well-
another requirement.
Another requirement that goes along with the PRE application. So we need to hold that in.
We've been seeing a lot of these from the Treasury Department.
They're challenging the areas.
Well, no, just,
Well, we need to have in place, approve this,
Also, we can approve the PREs later on in the year.
is that the reason?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Because people are buying, somebody that buys their house in August,
right,
if you only grant the PREs on December 31st, on the tax day, they're out the benefit for that year.
Okay, that's not the way she explained
I
it.
make the motion, we go ahead and accept.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion by Cruz, support by Kolonowski to approve the resolution allowing a qualified property owner to file a written request with the July or December Board of Review to claim a principal residence exemption. Any other discussion?
You're also changing the dates, aren't you?
That's
Oh,
another.
that's another.
Okay.
That's not part of this resolution.
There are too many resolutions.
Right.
Okay, I see.
Okay, Shirley, you can call the roll, please.
Jacinski?
Yes.
Walker? Cruz, Dean Cruz?
Yes.
Staky?
Yes.
Ball? Yes. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Brian Cruz?
Yes.
Okay, then item B is the resolution set an alternate date for the July and December Board of Review, which again has a lot to do with Molly's schedule and the July Board of Review has to fall during the week of the third Monday. And let's see.
And this one resolution will take care of both July and
Take-
December.
Yeah, basically, both of those are moving it back one, from a Monday or a Tuesday to a Wednesday, I believe, if I remember right. But anyway, that's based on Molly's schedule, so
I'll make a motion.
we have a motion by
Second.
Dean Cruz, support by Brian Cruz, to approve the resolution setting an alternate date for the July and December board reviews. Go ahead, Terry, call the roll.
Walker,
Yes.
Stady,
Yes.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Paul, yes. Dean Cruz,
Yes.
Brian Cruz,
Yes.
Jacinski,
Yes.
Okay, item C is consideration of approval in the amount of $750 to Northern Pump and Well for heating inspection and service on our 3 wells. They have been doing this for the township for a while now, so speaking with Mike, he said that's a real good price, $250 per well. They do a very thorough job, so.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Wall, support by Jacinski to approve the well and water inspection agreement with Northern Pump and Well in the amount of $750 for inspections on all 3 of our wells. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, discussion of short-term rental ordinance. Richard?
Well, what you have in front of you is rather marked up and busy copy of an ordinance that I drafted for, but it was not adopted or hasn't been adopted yet by Manistee Township. The Planning Commission asked me to modify it so that there was no licensure provision in it, and that's the version you have here. This is proposed, or as drafted, would be a police power ordinance, not a zoning ordinance. So it would be effective throughout the township, not just in specific districts. And as I said at the last planning commission meeting, the more I got to thinking about it, the more I think we have to have some sort of either a registration process or a licensing process in order to make it clear that this is not a zoning ordinance, and the point of not wanting this to be a zoning ordinance is that if you create it as a zoning ordinance, you potentially make everybody who has ever done a short-term rental a non-conforming use, which means you can't enforce it against them because they've already established a non-conforming use, arguing that it's legal under the zoning ordinance as presently written. I would dispute that, but the zoning ordinance is not very clear on that. If we make it a police power ordinance, that question is eliminated entirely. It's simply a regulatory ordinance that's applicable to every property in Filer Township. Now, a couple other things on the state level. There had been last year, as well as earlier this year, there had been a bill introduced that would eliminate the authority of local units of government to regulate short-term rentals. I was told yesterday, learned from the city manager in Ludington, actually at last night's city council meeting, but I did not get a chance to look them up today. Apparently that the bill that would exempt all local control of this is dead on arrival, and is not going to go anywhere. However, there
House
is,
Bill 4046.
I think that's maybe the one, but there, in place of it, there is apparently a bipartisan package of 10 separate bills that will allow for local regulation of short-term rentals, and I think this is probably where the bipartisan thing will come in, but also make them subject to the Convention Visitors Bureau tax, which is a 2% room tax on all of the hotel hotels in Manistee pay that to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and make it clear that these short-term rentals are also subject to that tax. But I have not had a chance to look at those bills, so I'm not real sure what is in them. But I do understand they have bipartisan sponsorship, which means the likelihood that they may actually move through the legislature is more promising than if it's simply one party or the other proposing the legislation. So this is not something that you can act on tonight. It's clearly not ready for you to act on. But Shirley, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Planning Commission wanted to send this to you to sort of get some feedback from the board. Is this something that you're interested in pursuing? And if so, then the Planning Commission would work some more on this and get something that they could send back to you to do a final look at, if it's something you're interested in. If not, if you're not interested in it, then the Planning Commission is just going to say, okay, then we'll stop worrying about it. Is that a fair
That's a fair
view of what I think the Planning Commission's looking at? And this is not something that would normally start, I mean, it doesn't have to go through the Planning Commission, but under our master plan and basically based on the history of how Fine Township has done these sort of things, these are things that you are looking for Planning Commission input on anyway. Whether the Planning Commission actually has an official role in the adoption of it or not. I know that in the past,
Done the legwork.
when you sort of push this stuff off to the Planning Commission to do the legwork and then send you a recommendation back. And so I'm thinking, as I said earlier, that the Planning Commission is interested in your views on this, sort of at a very 35,000-foot level. And if so, then they'll work on the details and the weeds and send something back to you. The issue, of course, has been that short-term rentals tend to become nuisances. People cram more people into small houses than should be there. They overtax septic systems, they overtax wells. When they leave on Saturday at noon, if the garbage collection isn't until Wednesday, there's bags of garbage hanging around for the raccoons and the possums to eat for 3 days before the garbage people show up and pick up what's left. You get a lot of complaints from neighbors about noise, late at night, people having beach parties, bonfires, and so on.
And one of the provisions in here talks about a notice right out there
Right.
on the front, a local phone number to call,
Yep.
to help the sheriff
Yep.
and also help the neighbors. that
Right,
goes across.
But one of the things that's in this ordinance is that, if you're going to use your home for a short-term rental, there has to be a notice posted on the outside of the building that gives the name of a local agent. Because many of these short-term rentals are owned by, real estate investment trusts in Los Angeles, or people that live, I have one in my neighborhood, the property owner lives in Denver. As far as I know, has never viewed or seen the property that he owns on Lake Michigan. But yet he rents it out on a weekly basis all summer long, and there's no effective regulation on what's going on there.
And if you have a number of those in an area.
In a neighborhood, right?
Like we have the professional.
Yeah.
It changes the
Changes the character.
makeup, the
Right.
character of the neighborhood. You don't know your neighbors, you got different neighbors
Right.
every week. And
I had a
Now-
call from somebody this week was asking questions about this being in effect and whether or not they could short-term rental their Oak Hill residents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, people are really, the vacation rental business is booming, and it's not just lakefront property owners.
Oh, no.
You can see them in the city of Manistee, particularly, there's places, 4th Street, 3rd Street, that they're just rentals is what they are, and they're short term.
now, you mentioned the requiring the tax being paid on these. Is that, I see see there's some talk in the House about a rental registry program. They're discussing that.
Okay, that could be part of that package, I don't know. I just found out about it yesterday, and I have not had a chance to investigate that further. And curiously, it hasn't popped up on the municipal listservs yet that I've seen, so my guess is the package has just been put together. But I understand that Jack O'Malley is one of the sponsors. But anyway, so the planning commission is just sort of looking for yay, nay, forget about it.
Guys,
What do you want to do?
they would continue with that?
I think based on, calls I've had over the last 3, 4, 5 years, with complaints on it, I think we should look into it.
Clean this up,
Mhm.
and then add
It's
whatever.
got maximum 14 days a year, is that?
Pardon?
It has a maximum 14 days.
I understand, that's what I was told last night, is that the package of bills would not allow local regulation of rentals if you only rented your house out for less than 14 days a year. So you could do 2 weeks of short-term rentals without being regulated or without being subject maybe to the CDB tax. I'm not sure, but there was an exception for, if you wanted to swap houses with somebody for 2 weeks, that wasn't going to bring you into the regulatory framework that the state is picturing here. But that's something the planning commission will need to look at, is whatever state legislation is moving, and either keep track of it, see where it goes. If it goes someplace, then obviously conform our own ordinance locally to state regulations, but if it doesn't go anywhere, then, proceed with our own.
And we also, the 2% come to the township.
Yeah.
Well, no doubt they'll have to add something, for a fee.
Well, you'll have some
for
fees, we'll put a fee in place on this. Because there will be some enforcement costs, there will be some compliance costs.
We don't have any idea what that would be.
Richard, does that take in the family members?
Pardon?
No,
Does that take in?
No, the exceptions that I've got in this right now are house sitting. You get your friend comes over for the weekend while you're out, that's not a short-term rental. Family occupancy. Of course, inns and beds and breakfasts that are, have a special use permit or something like that are already regulated by us. And then we had limited short-term rentals, which was defined as not to exceed 14 days in a calendar year. And that sort of got picked up by what I understand in the state legislation. So no, those are accepted, yeah.
Gonna be renting your place out there?
What's that?
Gonna be renting your place out there?
Well, no, but I'm thinking a lot of summer homes up there, and if they, the parents own it, and the kids come up for summer vacation or something like that, and in the family, but.
Family occupancy is not regulated. As long as it's the owner's own family, their guests. But this is when you charge people money, because these are essentially commercial operations is what they are.
Depends on what my money my kids make.
How much they're willing to pay.
Was this managed to townships?
Yeah, they have not adopted this yet, they're still talking about it. But that's where this version
that's
came
where it
from.
started, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to item E, discussion of the city of Manastee's marijuana ordinance, which is in your packet, and Richard, turn it over to you.
Well, this is again something that the planning commission had asked me to provide to them, so I have, this is a copy of the ordinance that the city adopted And this is the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. This is not recreational marijuana. This is essentially commercial operations that produce CBD oils and those kind of products, as well as, I think there's some medical marijuana that they can grow. I'm not real familiar with this because I haven't had, I mean, the city has done this, and so George has really gotten into the weeds on this. I haven't had a client that has really, so to speak. Did I say that?
They just
That just came out naturally.
Now we're
They
listening.
just adopted this
No wonder he has that smile on his face.
But yeah, no, this is for the large commercial operations. And if you notice, this is one where the annual fee can be up to $5,000 per year. This is the one where I think the state licensing fee is close to $500,000. 60,000 or something like that. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
They obviously have to have something in place, what they're gonna be spending.
Yeah, and if you go back to the name of the Supreme Court case was Bolt versus the City of Lansing, and that was a Supreme Court decision that said you violate the Headley Amendment if you charge a fee and the fee is actually just there to generate revenue and not cover the cost of providing the service that you're charging the fee for.
Very interesting to see how many people touch something.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was the purpose of George's memo that I provided you with a copy as well, and that is, this is how much one of these places would cost us, and these are all the people that will have to deal with it, so we can justify a fee of $5,000 because it may cost the city that and more, to regulate one of these industries that they don't have. Now,
Well, talking with Larry, he said Grand Rapids had, and I know the city's had some very strong interest.
yeah, the old ironworks.
Yeah, and city of Grand Rapids, they just had, they opened it up, we're gonna give out 18 permits,
Right.
and 85
Yeah, they were doing a lottery or something, I think.
with money in their pocket.
Yeah.
Traverse City did, what, 72 and they 13,
Yeah,
72 applied.
Right, 12.
12, 13 applied.
And they all had money in their pocket.
Well, we've had people look at the Kmart and
Right.
some of these other places as potential sites for this.
So are we safe to start something here, or is it still changing under our feet?
No, I think, I think this is something that we could move ahead with. I mean, the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act has been in place for long enough that it's settled, and I think they've got the regulations pretty well squared away.
it was my understanding that they are somewhat in a flux.
Yeah, they are, because the commission or whatever it is that they created has been reorganized under the new governor. And of course, everybody's pushing them to get the recreational marijuana regulations in place earlier rather than later, so that industry can also get off the ground.
Because they were telling us in June,
Who?
going into
MBA, yeah.
the guy said they really sped it up now since she came along. She fired the other guy, got somebody else going.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of money to the state on this. I mean, they're gonna get 10% off the top. I mean, that's a pretty good tax.
I think we should probably go ahead and really look
I don't
at
think
this.
it would hurt us to start looking at this.
Okay,
be
we'll get
prepared.
cranking on it then, yeah.
I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
I think so too. It'll be scaled down, of course, right? I mean, growers, they got like 12.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, or the planning commission will probably weigh in on that, and that's a discussion that we'll have with the planning commission. This is just the city's, to show you what it looks like, and obviously we'll tailor this to plaza.
Can we get something, I've been reading, they've got a meeting tonight, the city council, about recreational marijuana ordinance. But can we get some definitions on, because they're gonna, for recreational, a marijuana grower, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but processors, then 3 micro businesses, 3 retailers, 2 safety compliance establishments, and 2 secure transporters.
Right.
Can we get something where the definitions of what this
Those
stuff
are all
is?
defined in the recreational marijuana statute.
Some of those are defined.
Some of those are in here.
Somewhere in there?
I think so.
Yeah, but they're also defined in the recreational
I was reading something.
statute.
Mentioned or defined, so I got to look at it.
But they won't have that till June or so.
What's that?
We won't have the whole thing till June. You have to get it
Oh, right, yeah,
for recreation.
right.
Yeah, but we're still, it's the same people involved here. You got growers, processors, secure transporter, and safety compliance.
Yeah, there is a definition on page 3 of some of the stuff.
Some of them.
And Tom and I are gonna get 2 vans and a couple pistols,
2 guys in a van.
a couple AKs, and we're gonna go into business.
Okay, we have,
I see the city spelled it both ways in their definition.
Yeah, I caught that.
the addendum item F, consideration of approval of a backpack leaf blower. And, I guess we talked about that a little bit before the meeting. We do have a backpack leaf blower, but it just, it's fine if the leaves are nice and dry. But when they get wet, as they have been this spring, it takes a lot more power to move them. So,
I recommend that we purchase the steel from experience I had with the same product,
that's the one that I have, and it's,
the BR600.
I don't know if everybody's here, but I was talking about working at the park on Monday with our new part-time employees, and he was using the backpack loader that the township has, and I brought my backpack loader from home, the steel VR 600.
I don't think there's a steel pole.
I was
Last
moving, the last page, there's
It's just, that doesn't say steel on it.
yeah,
I don't know that it
the
is.
VR
It's
600.
the BR600.
I downloaded that from Freeman, I didn't realize it didn't say steel, that is a steel.
BR600. You don't know what that is, Shirley?
Yeah.
I don't.
And
Is
with-
one higher than
with-
VR 549?
Yep, they make 3 sizes. There's a, what, 300 or 400? And
He doesn't remember he
Yeah,
And I
there,
don't
and
know.
there is one bigger than the 600.
Huh?
Believe it or not.
Is there a bigger than that?
Remember that?
There's that next to the lady.
You pull the trigger, you go backwards.
We always got one, aim it at your flower beds, it doesn't matter, anything's in there, go, let's go.
Mine have blow acorns out of the yard. All the acorns, you can pile them up, little pile of acorns that high.
So Brian, you made a
I'll
recommendation,
second.
I'm making a motion.
I'm making a recommendation with the motion.
Okay.
Agreed upon by BR600.
I'll second we get that steel. I didn't know that was a steel.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion by Brian Cruz, supported by Kolonowski, to approve the purchase of steel VR 600,
Is that STIHL?
STIEHL, yes. In the amount of $499.95, $499.95. And they will throw in with that a 6-pack of 6.4 ounce oil at a value of $23.99. Any discussion? If we've had it all. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Any other business to come before the board tonight?
Any comments?
steel, pardon me? You can't borrow it from the township.
My steel?
No,
Oh,
our steel. Fire department just looked at that too, and, oh, that worked.
yeah, I like mine.
No, I have nothing, so.
Yeah. True.
Master plan work session, I gave you all a agenda here. You want to come May 15th, 5 o'clock? It's the kickoff for the master plan.
Is the consultant living here?
Yes.
You've got an invitation there somewhere.
Oh, I know. I get that all the best parties then.
Yeah. Sounds like the planning commission's going to have a lot of parties.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, do you have anything else? Brian?
Anywhere down there, south of the road, quick project yet? Have you estimates yet?
No, I spoke with Pat Devlin earlier this week to find out if he had gotten approval back from the state on our grant application. With final approval, that resubmission that we went through, and he said, no, typically that takes 4 to 6 weeks for turnaround on that. So I said that sounds to me like it's going to be June before we get a reply back from the state. And they can't put out an RFP, obviously, before that's final approval comes through, so. I've been staying on this case, so I want that RFP going as soon as we get that project going. Tom?
I guess I'd like board approval to put the wood chips on our property if we start that. So that,
Wire chips?
the chips from our brush pickup, have Carl's put them on our property rather than pay landfill if we're gonna put them down for a path.
All they gotta do is
We're
take it
talking
from
about
red.
there's a couple of part-time people,
Boy, do we ever have
they can start putting a path down.
All they gotta do is haul them on, because there's plenty of them on our road.
Yeah, you know,
Piles are huge this year.
Oh, yeah, okay, so you're asking for,
well, I wanna make sure the board approves it before we go do it.
Where do we put the chips?
I'll coordinate with Scott on that.
On the path.
Well, I know, it's store.
Oh, where are you gonna dump them?
Well, I'm gonna say 3 locations, west of by our water tower, or just west of Forest Service building, and then at the west end, behind our pump lift station, there's kind of a bank there, and then over behind the Shelby Bank, there's another spot. That would tie in the taps that we kind of written in what we want to do.
They won't get a little bobcat or something to spread them around, or
My buddy over here's got a tractor with a front end loader.
We're gonna approve a Bobcat.
everybody wants to borrow.
Everybody wants a Bobcat. That's a you know what a Bobcat is, don't you? Sure.
I do, yeah.
It's not that cat,
Not the Hannah.
not the 4-legged kid.
Yeah.
4-wheel.
Okay. So are you looking for something in the form of
A motion?
I mean, just so nobody comes back to the board who did that. Well, I
surely can include it in the minutes?
Yeah, to put the wood chips generated by the brush pickup. On the,
Township owned parcel that, what's that, 14-point-something acre parcel that a lot of people are already using, walking around that wetland area there, so.
it's probably got a property number somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we do.
Yeah, if we come in tomorrow, we can find that, and then I'll put
I
that
can
back.
give it to you tonight.
Okay, what is it? 51-06.
Let me, I gotta think of my box. Let's do the meeting and I'll.
Okay, so, and, is that it, Tom?
Well, if everything's all right with the board, sure.
That's your motion?
I'll second it, it's a motion.
Is it a motion now?
I don't think it's.
Take a motion then.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Chinsky, supported by Brian Cruz to request that Carl's Excavating place chips in various locations on our own parcel for creating walking paths.
Okay,
Good enough?
good enough.
Fair enough? Any other discussion on it? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I did get a call today from Scott McWoychick and their, on their chipper, they've got a broken shaft. It's a 2-inch steel shaft, and that they do not keep that part supplied because they were surprised that it broke, and when they contacted whoever to try to get it, they couldn't believe that it had broken either. But it has to be delivered by truck.
These are the two pieces.
Could have it as early as
Can I
Thursday
have this?
or Friday, so there's gonna be, I told him just to let me know if it's gonna go longer than Monday of next week. He anticipates being back in operation by next Monday at the latest, possibly by Thursday, late Thursday or Friday, so, if anybody says anything to you about, what's going on, that's why they're not working on it right now, because the chipper's broken. I also wanted to let you know that we had a group of volunteers out of Magoon that planted a little over 100 small trees out there, cedar, red osier dogwood, and nannyberry along the creek bottom. This was coordinated with ISN out of Traverse City, and Fields Ratliff came down with one of their team leaders, and we had 5 or 6 volunteers. Roger Dittmer came out, Bob Steer, Jim Wilkie, Kirk, I forgot his last name again. Kirk was from the city. And Tom was out there, and myself, and anyway, we got those 100 trees in. It was kind of nice, and I got an email today from Fields Ratliff, just so that you don't think that Tom doesn't do anything.
That was my job, I was
Those-
sitting on Ed's bench.
Those go around the trees to prevent the deer from munching on them.
It looked like you were wrapped up in a blue blanket.
Yeah, somebody has to fold those and put them together, and so Tom volunteered for that job, and then that's him. Kirk put in cedar, and there's yours truly and Bob
I don't know
Skiro.
that name.
And then that's the whole work crew, and I want to get something in the paper to that effect, and the work that was done out there, and then of course the beach cleanup that was done last month, April 20th out there. We had a group of 35 volunteers that picked up 120 pounds of trash on the beach, so I'll get that in the paper as well. I just want to share that with you. Yes, I think that's it, other than, Shirley and I did talk today about the possibility of bi-weekly or bi-monthly, every 2-week pay for part-time people, like our new maintenance person, and Tammy and Larry, and then whether we hire 1 or 2 again this summer. So we had a discussion about that today, and we bounced around a bunch of ideas, and I thought maybe it'd be best to just form a study committee to look at that and how we can incorporate that and maybe some other things with kind of workload that Tammy has now. So we'd like to look at that, and have Shirley sit in on that, and anyone else that would like to come up, preferably 2 other board members that would come up with some ideas and suggestions. Hopefully we can incorporate in the near future. So anybody that wants to jump onto that committee?
Nothing.
Brian? Okay. Anyone else?
I'm going for this.
Yeah, you can be gone. I'll sit in on that too then, and so we'll try to get together. We'll talk and try to come up with a time to see if it fits your that, I would.
I so move.
That's second.
Motion for adjournment by Cruz, support by Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?